Well, good morning. Welcome to the September 24th Board of Supervisors meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and we're going to begin with the roll call. Clerk, if you can take roll call.
Supervisor Brandel.
Here.
Supervisor Mendez.
Here.
Supervisor Pacheco.
Here.
Supervisor Quintero.
Here.
Chairman Magsic.
And I'm here.
All present, thank you.
First on our agenda is the Invocation Pledge of Allegiance, and today those are going to be led by District 3. Supervisor Quintero.
This morning I would like to invite our esteemed chairman to say the invocation.
Happy to do that. All right, so please all rise, and after the invocation, we will do the pledge.
Are we going to have you come up later? You said you were going to.
For the. Well, do you want to introduce them? So what I'll do is I'll pray, and then we can have them come forward, because I think they're going to put
That's
something.
fine.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day, an incredible sunrise, and I pray right now for the men and women who work throughout the county, who work for city and county government agencies. I pray that you just give them a hedge of protection as they do their jobs throughout Fresno County. I thank you for life. I thank you that we have the ability to interact with one another, and I pray that you give us wisdom and discernment as we go through the county items today. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. And we have some special guests that are here as well that have been invited. And at this time, I believe there is a presentation. And I think there is, and I would ask for Mr. Kapoor to maybe step forward at this time to describe, I believe it's a string that you attach to the wrist. And if you can just talk a little bit about the significance of this, and I think that Supervisor Quintero is going to have that placed on his wrist, if I'm not mistaken. So if you can come to the podium and just talk about that a little bit, I would appreciate it.
Also, I'd like to invite his wife, Veena Kapoor, and Sister Mary, that's accompanying them.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for having us here today. We are members of Brahma Kumari's World Spiritual Organization. I would like to take a minute to really explain about the organization, why we do what we do. But we are also grateful for this opportunity to meet with all of you and give our message of peace and love. Our organization acknowledges the intrinsic goodness of all people and believes that personal transformation is essential for creating a peaceful and just world that we all want. And we practice meditation and seek to help individuals to understand their own inner strength and potential for personal growth. And we tie a bond of a Rakhi, which is a bond of love and protection, the love and protection that comes from the highest source that we just remembered. But we remember that and seek that energy from the divine through our meditation so that we can become those that we also practice the same. In the United States, we have had an NGO status since 1981. Our organization has 130 countries where there are centers. In US, there are 40 centers and 35 sub-centers. The uniqueness for our organization is that we operate totally on voluntary contributions. Any of the services that we provide, there is no charge. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of explanation, and we can do the ceremony for Sal right now, and then do the invocation. I'd like to introduce Sister Kim, who is going to accompany me and help me.
You want to go down there? Sure, if you want. Okay.
This is symbolic of our connection with the highest being. and who doesn't have a human body but is a being of light, just like we are. So it's on the right hand.
The left or the right?
That is better.
The right.
There's a blessing and a homemade sweet. The blessing, and we have more blessing cards if anybody's interested. We have some sweets for everyone of you on the board.
Thank you.
Veena will be glad to tie this sacred thread to others also who are interested. It is basically a symbol of love, and the purpose is to generate positive energy in our community, in our society, and promote peace and harmony. That's what it stands for, actually. I'm Dr. Kapoor. I'm just a driver. Thank you, Nathan. It's good to see you.
It is good to see you too, Doctor. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kapoor and Veena. Mary, thank you so much. It means a lot to me. I know we go back many years, and we've shared a lot of good experiences, and I want to thank you for
Thank you for having us. So, invocation. Let us turn our attention inwards. Let our mind become very quiet and still. Focus on just one thought, that I am a sparkling light, a sparkling, shining star. And my true nature is peace, love, and happiness. In silence, I can experience my true self. I experience this and becoming peaceful and loving towards my own self. And that enables us to become free from differences between us. And it melts away into love, appreciation, and understanding. We all come from the world of silence. We belong to the one ocean of love, an ocean of peace. We hope this message or harmony that we created together enables you in your formidable task and service that you do to sustain peace, love, and happiness in our Fresno County. Om Shanti.
Thank you.
We now
Thank you.
move to item
Thank-
number,
Thank you,
Veena.
Veena, and as you know, you're all very aware, this Fresno County is a very diverse community, and often the only thing that we see in the newspapers and the headlines is things that go on politically, decisions that are made. But I know all the years that you've continued to look out for the spiritual well-being of our community. That's very, very important, and I want to thank you for having that commitment. We really appreciate you. Thank you.
we now move to item number 1, approve agenda.
All right. Everyone's had an opportunity to look at the agenda. Any modifications? Seeing none, we have a motion to approve. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That carries unanimously.
We now move to item number 2, approve consent agenda item numbers 20 through 46. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, items 24 and 36 are deleted and will return at a later date. 24 and 36 are deleted and will return at a later date.
Any members wish to pull any other items off of consent? Seeing none, anyone in the public wishing to comment on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll close the public portion, bring it back to the board for, we have a motion for approval of the remainder. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And that carries unanimously.
We now move to item number 3 under Board of Supervisors, presentation of retired plaque to Christina Romans, Department of Social Services, 24 years of service.
All right, and we have some representatives from the Department of Social Services that are here to say a few words.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Linda Duchesne from the Department of Social Services, Assistant Director. Today, I have the honor and the pleasure of recognizing Christina Roman for her 24 and a half years of service. Today, Christina and I had a chat, and she shared with me that when she started with Department of Social Services in 2001, that I was the first person that she encountered. And she told me, she said, you actually introduced me to everyone, you walked me around the building, and she shared that it was a great experience for her. So I find it befitting that I be the one to stand before you today to acknowledge her in her retirement as well. So Christina started her employment with the county in 1999 as an office assistant in general services and fleet services. Christina transferred to the Department of Social Services in 2001, where her functions included lobby reception. Since then, she's worked in various program areas, including in foster care intake for clerical and in the EVES Income Eligibility Verification System unit. Christina gained expertise in our Medi-Cal system, where she corrected errors and issued emergency Medi-Cal cards to ensure families had access to health care. Ms. Romans was assigned to Selma Regional Center in March of 2013, and in that role, she performed a myriad of assignments that provided cash aid, general assistance, food, health care services to families in our regional offices. She also was responsible for registering applications. Christina is the mother, she gave me permission to say this, she is the mother of 2, one son, his name is Dakota Sky, and one daughter by the name of Brittany. She is the proud grandmother of 3 grandchildren, Arabella, age 12, Rhea, age 8, and Kalia, age 5. Christina, we are deeply grateful for your commitment to the department, to our staff, and to the families. Your dedication has been demonstrated by your compassion and empathy towards your family, your co-workers, and the department. We wish you the very best in your well-deserved retirement. That concludes it.
Thank you, staff. And, we have a little plaque and a card up here for you as well. So if maybe you could come forward at this time, and if you have any family members that you would want to join you, we would like to give this to you, and we'd like to get a picture.
Family could not be here today, so.
These are for you. Thank you for your 22 years. Good. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you.
Congratulations. I saw.
Thank you. Oh, one more. Thank you.
We now move to item number 4 under Supervisor Quintero, adopt resolutions recognizing Dr. Bob Nelson as Exceptional Parents Unlimited's Beacon of Hope recipient and recognizing the Isnardi Foundation as Exceptional Parents Unlimited's Hope Grows Here recipient.
Supervisor Quintero, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. At this time, I'd like to call the Executive Director of Exceptional Parents Unlimited, Lowlands, there will be an event coming up, a gala that they will be sponsoring. And at this gala, they're going to recognize Dr. Robert Nelson as Educational Parents Unlimited Beacon of Hope recipient, as well as the Isnardi Foundation as EPU's Hope Grows Here recipient. Lowell?
Thank you, Sal. Good morning, Board of Supervisors and county staff. Thank you for this opportunity. We appreciate the recognition that we have for our Gala of Light, but also for our awardees that are receiving their awards on November 2nd at our Gala of Light. So our first award, as was mentioned, is going to Dr. Bob Nelson. This is the Beacon of Hope Award that was created several years ago by Exceptional Parents Unlimited, and it's awarded to individuals that have a like mind to the work that we do at EPU, those that care and advocate for children. And so we couldn't think of anybody better this year than Dr. Bob Nelson. He's an amazing leader within our community, formerly as the superintendent of Fresno Unified School District, most recently now at Fresno State. But also there's a story and a connection between Bob and his wife Tiffany and EPU going back many, many years. Bob was on our board back in the early 2000s. Bob and Tiffany are also clients of EPU in the past. And also they have been strong advocates for the work that we do at EPU and have been volunteers as well in the work that we've done in the past with Valley Children's Hospital. Bob has continued to be and is an amazing beacon of hope. He's a personal friend of mine and for many of us at EPU, and so we really welcome the opportunity to celebrate him in our community. The second award is our Hope Grows Here Award, and this is given to funders, donors that support the work of EPU each year. This year we are awarding it to Isnardi Foundation. We were unable to have an individual representative from Isnardi Foundation to be with us today, but they have been amazing over the last 10 years. Isnardi was founded by Vincent Isnardi. He was a pharmacist here in Fresno, and over the past 10 years, they have donated over $600,000 to EPU's work. One of the unique things about Isnardi is that they fund infrastructure needs, and so we own our building, our air conditioners, different needs over the years that they have supported and continue to provide us with a place that's welcoming and inviting and cool during the summer for our clients and staff. So we really appreciate them, and they've been true partners in the work that we do each day. They've ensured to make sure that hope can continue to grow at EPU. We want to invite everybody to our Gala of Light on November 2nd. We'll be celebrating both of these awardees, and you're welcome to join us there. You can get tickets and make contributions to that event on our website at epuchildren.org. I have two board members here as well this morning, Paul Peschel and Nia Jo Lee, who joined me as well, and I'd like to welcome them and Bob and his wife Tiffany and their son Philip, if he wants to come. I don't know, Bob, if you want to say anything?
I just offer gratitude. I mean,
Okay.
The last thing the supervisors want to do is hear me speak. Brethren, it's great to be with you. Thank you for everything you do for our county and the legacy of service you provide to the county of Fresno. It's an honor to be recognized. Super thankful to be affiliated with Exceptional Parents Unlimited. Many of you know I only wanted 2 kids. We have 7, 5 of whom have an IEP. So this is a part of our life. Part of it, we fostered 8, adopted 4 of those, and they range in terms of their ability level. But very, very thankful to have an organization like Exceptional Parents in our community that just puts it out there every day for and in behalf of young people with exceptional need, right? This is a forgotten community, and so everything they do to raise the vision of folks across our community is really well appreciated, and couldn't be more honored to be recognized by them. So thank you, and thank you for the opportunity today. Thank you, Supervisor.
All right, any other comments from board members?
Well, I just want to thank you for the work that the organization does. I want to thank the communities that you serve, and it's a gift to all of us in terms of the work that is being done, and to have people like Dr. Nelson be a part of that is very important. So we're honored, and with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to adopt the resolutions recognizing both the Isnardi Foundation and Dr. Nelson as recipients for their awards.
That's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll make a second.
Is there a further comment?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bob, you just thanked us for everything we do for the community, but I want to say right back at you. Thank you for all the leadership you've provided for our community over the years. And I appreciate all the hard work, and congratulations on being the, the Hope Grows Here recipient for this year. So congratulations.
You know, I think that speech you gave was probably the longest one without being interrupted that you've been able to give in front of a board. So well done. And that we appreciate you, and also are very excited that you're taking all of the knowledge that you've gleaned over the decades and you're able to pour into students at Fresno State. So congratulations on your next adventure, and we're glad that you have chosen to stay here in the community. So with that, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that passes unanimously. Please step forward so we can get a picture with you. You gotta have some humor. You're so young, man.
I met all the terms of my parole.
It's naughty.
Thanks, Wolf.
Aye.
I was going to comment with an incredibly organized meeting. Wow, that is a really different feel.
Good to see you, my friend.
Oh, yeah. Good to see you. Thank you.
Good to see you guys. Thank you for
Thank you very much.
Yep.
We now move to item number 5, under Supervisor Brandow, conduct first hearing to amend the ordinance code of Fresno County Title 15, Chapter 19.90, vacant structures and buildings, waive reading of the ordinance in its entirety, and set the second hearing for October 8th, 2024. Designate county council to prepare a fair and adequate summary of the proposed ordinance, and direct the clerk of the board to post and publish the required summary in accordance with Government Code Section 25124B1.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board, Senior Deputy County Counsel Kyle Roberson. Before you is the proposed ordinance to add Chapter 15.90 to Title 15. This is to address vacant buildings and structures in the unincorporated areas of the county. Vacant buildings are a source of nuisance conditions. They can attract vagrants. They are targets for fire. They can become dens of illegal activity. They are also targets of illegal dumping. And if not properly addressed, they have a tendency to spread their negative impact to surrounding neighborhoods, and then also lead to the deterioration of surrounding neighborhoods. Presently, the county addresses vacant buildings under Chapter 15.32, but it's only a very small section. It's as a condition of substandard buildings. This ordinance would highlight that vacant buildings, the problematic nature of vacant buildings, and provide specific procedures for the county to abate vacant buildings. It would also create an ability for the county to abate them and also recover costs for that abatement, tying into the procedures that already exist under Chapter 1.16, our Administrative Abatement Ordinance. If there's any questions, that concludes my presentation on this ordinance.
I think what I'd like to do is hear from Supervisor Brandow, and then we'll open it up to the public, and I'll reserve my questions till after that.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Kyle, for introducing that this morning. So this is a result of, for several years, we've received, my district has received a lot of complaints about vacant properties who seem to be abandoned, and then we do a lot of research work to find out that the property owner lives in San Jose or Long Beach and doesn't really care about their Fresno property, and then it drags down the value of the neighborhood. It impacts other people's lives. It is a magnet to homelessness and other activities that shouldn't be on that property. So working with Kyle and Sam Buck and Sal Espino, which I want to thank the three of them for really helping District 2 put this together. This really addresses that. One, just to kind of be clear, what it really does is, because we have some of the rules on the books, but they're largely don't have any teeth to them. So if somebody abandons a property now in urban Fresno County, they at least have to come up with a plan and communicate with the county on what they're going to do to mitigate that property while it's down. And so, and then also address issues like weeds, and the next item's about graffiti. It's a little bit different, but the same concept. And so This way, even if that one property is blighted, we don't allow it to spread. We go in, it gives us the ability, if they refuse to do anything about the property, given the appropriate amount of time, it allows Fresno County to go in and abate the problem and then get reimbursed by funds from that property. And so it's been a long time coming, but I'm very appreciative that all the hard work, and we really need this in my district for sure.
Any other questions for staff on this?
I agree.
Uh,
Kyle, I understand the need for this in more of the urban setting. My concern is the last sentence. It says, "This item is countywide." So we can leave this chambers right here. We can drive east, west, north, or south, and we can see many, many vacant buildings on the rural countryside. So I have a great concern that if somebody drives by, sees a vacant building, and says, "I think that's a nuisance," then we're going to require a farmer who has an old barn or a structure to put a fence around it or do something because we're trying to alleviate something in the city, but you drafted this in a way that says this item is countywide. And quite candidly, I don't agree with that because common sense would tell you that we don't have to do that, but we're sometimes in government lacking common sense. And I don't want any of my farm community to be subject to unnecessary rules and regulations when we're really trying to address an issue in the urban corridor, and yet now you just affected all of my residents in the rural sector. So what do you have to prevent that from happening?
So for ordinances like this that deal with the ordinance code, we do have to draft them, and they are applicable countywide. There isn't a way in the ordinance code to designate a ordinance is only applicable in certain segments.
Exactly.
Now, to
So,
address
so
your points-
I'm collateral damage, and I don't want to be collateral damage.
Well, with any law enforcement by its nature is a discretionary function. So through this board, direction could be given that, look, when we're talking about the rural areas, let's really examine, is there a need to address that vacant building? Does it create, and is it attracting some of those other concerns, like homelessness, like illegal activity? Because yes, I experienced the same thing. When you drive out on 180, you can see the old abandoned farm buildings, and those may not necessarily be driving some of these problems. But because code enforcement as a law enforcement function is discretionary, there is discretion on the county on when we apply. Now, we do have to be careful about not having selective enforcement, where we can't just signal out certain individuals or certain groups. But as long as there is a reasoned and sort of generally understand policy in place about how this is going to be enacted and how it's going to be enforced, we could address some of those concerns. Now, it doesn't stop the complaints from the public now that this ordinance would be on the books. And it's not effective until we come to the second hearing. And if this board approves today, we'd come back on October 8th. One of your alternative actions is to have staff go back and revise this. So if there's some direction that you would like, Supervisor, on how we can do this. Now, unfortunately, there's not a way for the ordinance to be drafted in a way that it wouldn't apply countywide. That's just not something that is plausible. But there could be some other language works we could look at.
Well, normally, like I said, normally when we do this, or we've done in the past, if we want to create something like this, we come to the board and we ask if there's a consensus to do it, and then we do it. This was the first time I'm seeing it. I think my colleague, Supervisor Mendez, in the other rural sector has some issues too. So this was my first and only chance to do it. I personally am not comfortable today with the wording of this to move it forward. But again, I adhere to the rule of three, but I want to be on record. I understand the intent. I believe it's necessary in the urban sector, but I believe it's another unnecessary regulation that we're going to have in the rural community, and I do not support it at this time.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly, Mr. Supervisor, if you'd like to provide, if the board would like to provide direction to staff as to changes they'd make in an ordinance, this is the first reading is the time, for the board to do that.
Buddy, you have a comment?
Yeah, I think there could be a little bit of language smithing in here by putting, basically limited it to the urban areas and I don't think it has, you made a comment that it has to be county-wide, but I think you could wordsmith it so it's more akin to the urban areas. Now, I know that we have county islands that are surrounded by the city, but we have other county semi-islands in the metro area. And it needs to be wordsmithed so it kind of can take in those areas and not be technically county-wide.
And another thing too, I would add, Kyle, too, is if we're going to make the rule, then all our county property, we have to adhere to the same rules. So we have vacant buildings that we're not using and all that. Do we currently have fences around all those, and are we going to adhere to our own rule? My guess would be no. Yeah. And we have different issues going on all the time. And again, we're going to make a rule like this, then we as the rule maker better adhere to our own rule.
So, comment I have, is it possible to exclude properties that are zoned a specific way? So any ag zone property are exempt from this?
We
We
could
might
look
be
into
able
that,
to-
but we
we
can
might be
maybe
able to
designate
do
that
that.
where we would list as enforceable
Within certain
parcels in
zones.
those certain zones
Yep.
where we'd list.
So I
That
think
doesn't
that,
always match up exactly with the area
So that would be
concern.
a
No, but
great
that-
idea,
that's
like
how-
E20.
yeah, that's how you solve the issue with the, the farming community, because I don't know too many farmers. There might be a few that are farming on land that's zoned commercial. Most of it is
Yep.
an AE20 zone district. So
Right.
that way we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And what I would propose today is, you've heard the concerns of the board, and I agree with Brian. Whatever rules we put in place, we've got to, those rules apply to us as the county as well. And I know that this board has been very active in trying to spin off as many excess properties as possible that we have that we are not using. And it's my understanding we're still looking at additional buildings that we can get rid of that are excess. But I am supportive of moving forward today with these comments because it's going to come back to us again. If you find it can't be done, at that point we kill it. But I think what's being attempted to do in the more metropolitan areas needs to be done. But I don't want to.
Not arguing with that.
Yeah, we don't want to pass a
And
rule that's going to hurt, though, our farmers. And so you're going to have a 30-day period of time to see if you can exclude people in the ag zone district from this rule so it doesn't inadvertently harm our farmers. Is that reasonable? And is that reasonable?
I'm good. Like I
Yeah.
said, fully understand it, support it in the urban area. And Supervisor Brandow doesn't have any rural areas, all urban, so I fully get where he's coming from. But I do not want to be collateral damage on this ordinance.
Right.
And then we'll definitely look into wordsmithing, and then per the board's direction, if it can be done, we'll bring it back 30 days. So this will not come back to your board on October 8th for a second reading. This will come back fresh as a new first reading, given the word change.
And it'll be another first reading because
Okay.
it'll be a whole
Yeah.
new.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
And then Kyle, I've got a question.
Yes.
As far as the process goes, it states it's vacant buildings and properties. Somewhere along the way, you may have a problem with a property that you need to notify the property owner. And in that process, does a letter go out stating what the problem is from the county?
So what this ordinance does is it establishes a new noticing procedure where there's an explicit notice about the vacant building to identify to the property owner the problem and the requirements the county are demanding for them to address that. So yes, it would provide notice before we were to kick off abatement action. And there are due process protections in our administrative abatement process where if they request a hearing, they would have a hearing to appeal that demand for abatement.
Well, one of the things I'd like to see, if it isn't in there already included, is that if you're going to notify the property owner, a lot of times the letter will just go to the property, and let's say the property owner lives in LA or San Francisco. I think we need to put something in there that says that we go above and beyond just mailing to that address, but to see where that property owner lives. Because we even have that in code enforcement with rentals. that folks are renting the property, we send a letter after letter after letter, and yet we don't look to see where the property owner lives. It's the renter that's getting it, but won't give it to the property owner.
And then to address that concern, and that is a concern that we deal with code enforcement wide about locating property owners, especially when they're out of town. Our office has been working with, I want to say the tax collector's office. They have some ability to do some person location. So we're looking into do that. And certainly with this ordinance, that same process would apply. If we have out of town owners, we can't locate them. We will use the resources available through the county to try and
Well, I think it
provide
should
a
just
better
be a
address.
step in the process right from the start of it, that who's ever working on that property, look it up right away to see where that property owner lives, because you're just wasting time just going through that first part.
That's a valid point, Kyle, because we had a tax issue come before us that we kept sending a notice to the property. The property owner said he lived somewhere else, never got the notice. So Supervisor Quintero brings up a very valid point. You can't just do it to the property address. You have to find where the owner is, and we have to have a certified mail or some documentation so that when they come to us and appeal and say, I never got notice, that we have a defensible track of where the letters went and that they signed for it.
And we can include that. We can include procedures, and that's a good addition, certified mail, something to demonstrate that there's
But yeah,
been proof of
Supervisor
receipt.
Quintero brings up a very valid point that
Yes.
we've already had to address that we should prepare for in the future.
So we can include that in the language wordsmithing.
Thank you.
So Kyle, a question based upon the direction that this body has kind of laid out. Do you think October 8th is enough time to bring this back for its first reading, since this is going to be modified, or?
October 8th would be a
We're
significant
going to need a
time
little
wrench
bit
that.
more
So
time
the
to make
first,
sure.
can you do it the first meeting in November? Because this is something which is, I think, of importance to this body. Can you bring it back the first meeting in November?
Certainly, yes.
Okay.
The second meeting in October, maybe.
Do you want a second meeting on October the 24th?
That's-
Okay.
Yeah, that's
No, what's
Okay.
the second meeting on October?
October 22nd.
22nd. Yes, we can do that.
You think you can do October 22nd? All right, perfect.
I'll make magic happen.
All right.
And do we need a motion to make that happen, or how do we
Yes,
do that
because
now?
we want to have a date certain, because if we don't do a date certain, it requires additional noticing.
Okay.
That's my
Well,
understanding.
then why don't I make that motion?
Well, before you make any motion, I need to open it up
I
to
just
the
want
public.
to, again, just summarize what the additions to the ordinance are going to be. So there's the issue of limiting to only those residential, commercial zones. We'll look into making sure that happens. If, for whatever reason, if we make a determination legally that's not plausible, we'll immediately notify this board. We'll also include language to Supervisor Quintero's concern about identifying property owners out of the area, establishing a process where we do a deeper dive on locating, and then also providing some proof of receipt in the procedures. Have I covered off on the concerns of this board that need to be addressed?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
All right, but there might be more, because we're going to open it up to the public and see. Is there anyone in the public wishing to comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public portion. So it sounds like you've got everything, Kyle. Thank you for your hard work on this. We appreciate it. And that's a very nice tie, by the way. I'm jealous of it. Good-looking tie. So with that, Steve, do you want to make a motion?
I will make a motion, and I don't know if you want to apply some of the same concepts to the next item, which is kind of similar. That one's about graffiti, so I don't know if that changes everything in the rural area as well. But for this one, I will make a motion to continue this item until October 22nd.
Perfect. And giving direction to staff, of course, to incorporate those items that this board has talked about. And I'll be the second with those additional items included. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And that passes unanimously.
We now move to item number 6, under Supervisor Brandow, conduct first hearing to amend the ordinance code of Fresno County Title 10 to add Chapter 10.31 graffiti abatement, waive reading of the ordinance in its entirety and set second hearing for October 8th, and designate county council to prepare a fair and adequate summary of the proposed ordinance and direct the clerk of the board to post and publish the required summary in accordance with Government Code Section 25124B1.
All right, Kyle.
Again, Senior Deputy County Counsel Kyle Roberson. Before your board is an item to add Chapter 1031 to Title 10 of the Fresno County Ordinance Code. This would address graffiti abatement. Currently, the county's process for abating graffiti, it does it in a way where we seek consent from a property owner, and then county funds are used. There's no current mechanism to address graffiti abatement where we can impose those costs on a property owner. And there's really no mechanism to compel either an irresponsible or absentee property owner to address graffiti. This ordinance would do this by providing, establishing a noticing procedure and also applying the similar procedures we have in our administrative abatement ordinance in Chapter 1.16 to demand abatement. And if abatement doesn't happen, provide for a hearing. And then if there is a hearing, we can get an order to seek abatement, and then the county would be authorized to abate. Cost recovery would be accomplished similarly under 1.16, where we would hold a cost recovery hearing and then assess those costs on the property. This is a companion to the previous item because, again, graffiti, like a vacant building, if a building has graffiti, it's a signal that it's not being maintained. It attracts all of those evils of the world to it, and those evils tend to migrate to surrounding properties and can lead to deterioration of surrounding neighborhoods and communities. With that, that concludes my presentation. If the board has any questions, I'm available.
Yep. So questions,
One of my
Supervisor?
questions to Dan, or it doesn't matter, but would like standpipes and filter stations and irrigation equipment in rural areas be affected by this, or how would that be affected?
It would include not just a building, but the ordinance does cover personal property or fixtures on property. So it would address tanks, standpipes that hit with that are tagged with graffiti. So it would apply to that as well. But the county still has the opportunity now.
Well, Kyle, on one hand, if you're going to come out and clean it, I'm all for it. I think Supervisor Minnis brings up a great idea. If somebody comes and graffiti some of our irrigation, or we see on Fresno Irrigation District, they on the crosswalks and they graffiti it, if now the county's going to come out and paint it and do it, then I'm all on board. But now I'm hearing from your presentation, you're going to charge a landowner. So I'm a victim, and then you're going to make me pay to be a victim. And to me, that's not right. So I'm just curious, and again, our colleagues in the city, when they go out and they do their abatement and they spray over all the graffiti, are they doing it as part of your tax dollars, or are they charging the property owner when they abate the graffiti?
Unfortunately, I cannot speak to what the city does, but what the county currently does, and the option would still be available. So under section 4.5610, the county does have a procedure where if a property owner is victimized from graffiti, if they consent to the county's entry, the county will clean it up, and they will not charge the property owner.
Oh, then I'm all on board, yeah. Come
that's the
clean up
county's
our
dollars.
standpipes, buddy, and I got 3 or 4 of them, yeah.
So that exists currently, and this ordinance wouldn't upset that. This ordinance would be in addition to that existing procedure. This only allows us when we have an abandoned property, and generally when you find a vacant property, it has trash and debris, it's unsecured, maybe it has homeless individuals, and it likely has graffiti. This would give us the opportunity to have a full abatement of all those conditions and not, for example, be left without the potential capacity to address the graffiti. But again, the county still has the capacity to clean up property that a property owner is victimized through county dollars, through our.
That's all I'm
existing
saying, the victim shouldn't be the one paying too. I don't believe that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, code enforcement is law enforcement, and law enforcement is discretionary. So, there is discretion about where we act and what we do. The one thing, if we're going to do abatement, I'm not going to go any further than that.
Any additional comments?
Yeah, I do.
Sal, please.
Yeah. Kyle, I, speaking for the urban areas, let's say in my district, I've got Calwa, I have Mayfair, to name 2 of them. There's several, let's say there's several properties that get graffitied, vacant houses, empty vacant buildings, that type of thing. One of the things that I'd like to see added, and this would be maybe for the urban areas, is that when we go through that process, that we also look to see if that we notify the property owner if they're not the ones living on that property, but also to include for those urban areas to include in the notification saying you have 10 days to clean out, to paint over your graffiti, otherwise you'll start getting fines from the county. Because a lot of times they'll just drag it on and drag it on. But I think by giving them, the property owner, a time limit on some of those smaller buildings, be they small warehouses in the urban areas or housing or businesses. By them giving them that timeline, I think it's being fair.
I'm just looking again to make sure, because I want to see. Yes, we'll look into wordsmithing that to ensure that we have the fine structure in there.
Well, if you can notify all of us if that's in there included,
Yes.
or it will be
But,
included.
and then to your point, Supervisor, would you like, right now, would you like that additional language about seeking additional contact information for property owners to do that deep dive and that sort of
Contact the,
certified?
yeah, make
Okay.
sure that the property owner is notified if he doesn't live on that property.
So would
just
the
for the-
direction be to return this similarly to the, as the
Because
vacant building?
if the property owner isn't there and is still picking up his mail there, it may be a week before he picks up all his mail.
Right.
Well, usually, Supervisor, the notice goes to the tax. We usually send it based on the assessor's record, so it goes to the person that's paying the tax. But adding additional, coverage is always possible for that. I would just note that there is in the graffiti notice a 15-day notice written into the
Well,
notice.
I'm just speaking from my experience at the city when we were making all these changes and adding on. You'll recall that, Supervisor Brandau, when we were making adding all those on there, because we were seeing that buildings weren't getting cleaned in a timely fashion and would hurt the neighborhoods.
Sure.
So the direction is shorten it from 15 to 10? Okay.
So a thought would be, Kyle, maybe this gets brought back as well on the 22nd of October. And board members, I want to make sure that the concerns that we have here are given to Kyle, because for the public's sake, we are not able to talk about this together. We have to give direction here publicly, and then when this is brought back, we can deliberate again in the future. So I want to make sure that nothing is missed from us as far as our direction is concerned. And Kyle, you want to read back some of the changes you're going to make?
So, yes, so to summarize the concerns, we would include reducing the amount of time that the notice would have would be from 15 to 10 days, to include language for procedures to seek additional addresses for property owners if they're out of the area, utilize those systems that are those procedures available to the county, and then also ensure that there is this capacity to assess fines if in addition to abatement, we would have the administrative fines would apply to this ordinance as well.
Anything else, board members, you can think of? All right, anyone in the public wishing to comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public portion. Supervisor Brandau, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make that similar motion to continue this item to October 22nd, to come back at that time and address these additional comments and concerns that were made publicly.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Supervisors.
Kyle.
We now move to item number 7, under Chairman Magsick and Administrative Office, discuss and provide direction regarding the Dunlap Cemetery District.
All right, and while Amina's coming forward, I'll provide a few comments on this particular item, and then we'll have a brief presentation by Amina. So Dunlap Cemetery District is one of the many districts that reside in Fresno County. This particular one is in my district. This district was established by board action, I believe, in 1941. And prior to that, I believe this cemetery district was a private one. So through its creation, there was a 3-member board, and it's operated since that way. Last year, that 3-member board resigned, and I have mentioned on several occasions here publicly that there is a need for more board members to step forward, and that has not been successful. So we've had one person who actually applied, but they didn't qualify. I believe they lived outside of the district, and to be eligible to serve on the cemetery district, you have to, I believe, reside within the confines of that district boundary. So the reason this is before us today is we have a district in Fresno County which operates independent of this body, because in 1941 we created a public entity that's separate from us to operate where all the board members have resigned and the public has not, we haven't been able to find anybody from the public to step forward and take over. So with that, Amina, if you can share with us this item and maybe some options that we have.
Sure. Good morning, Board. Amina Flores-Becker, Deputy CAO. The item before you recommends that your board discuss and provide direction to staff related to the current and future state of the Dunlap Cemetery District. We have some options that you all may consider and a recommendation at the end. Option 1 is your board may continue to search for volunteers to serve on the district board. Some things to consider under that option is that qualified volunteers must be a registered voter in the district. The district is made up of a population of approximately 1,654 residents. Outstanding invoices received by the county will remain unpaid until there is an active board. In addition, if there is another family wishing to bury a loved one, there will be no entity to take on that effort, and it will likely fall back on District 5 as it did in July of this year. Option 2 is your board may appoint yourselves as the Board of Trustees for the district. With this option, the county would become responsible for the management and operations of the district. The district currently has approximately $70,000 in fund balance, but the 2017 municipal service review done by LAFCO reported that the district was operating in a financial deficit. This option would have to go through a noticed public hearing whereby your board allows for written or oral protests and decide whether to adopt a resolution appointing yourselves as the Board of Trustees for the district. Third option is your board may direct staff to assess and determine next steps to pursue a dissolution of the district. Some things to consider is dissolution may require a Board of Trustees to initiate a proposal of change in organization to LAFCO. Because the district currently has no governing body, LAFCO may need to self-initiate dissolution due to an inactive district. Things to consider if staff is directed to explore and pursue dissolution is once dissolved, the residents of Dunlap may not have a local cemetery, public cemetery for their loved ones. In the MSR, the district, or the municipal service review report done by LAFCO, the district reported that they conduct an average of 4 internments per year. There are existing plots that have been pre-purchased. Staff is currently gathering information on what happens to the cemetery or its assets if the district is dissolved. So staff's recommendation today is that the district, that District 5, Supervisor Magzik's office, continue to actively search for volunteers to serve on the district's board, or option number 1. If no qualified volunteers are identified, staff plans to return to your board on December 3rd to provide further information for your board to consider regarding dissolution and to provide a final recommendation. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add one
Yes.
thing. Amina ran over a couple of the options that have the Board of Supervisors either becoming the Board of Directors of the district, or if LAFCO handled a dissolution, they would probably appoint the county as the successor agency to handle the windup of that. Technically, and from a legal perspective, it's still only the assets of the district that pay for the operations of the district. We're not to use county funds to do that. As a practical matter, the staff time and everything, we're going to get hit with that if you take that over more likely. But it's not a matter of us taking over the district and having any obligation on the part of the county to continue to operate the district at county expense. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Well, if I could, Mr.
Please.
Chairman, please, thank you. That is as clear as mud. I don't understand how this even comes to be. So it's my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, in 1941, this was a private entity. In 1941, the Board of Supervisors at that time made it a district. So to me, when they did that, they assume liability over that. So they have 3 volunteer people that do this. As in any management knows, in a cemetery, when you start running out of plots, you lose your revenue stream. So from what I just heard from staff's presentation, several people have prepaid, which is a common thing to do. So again, in my opinion, those prepayments have to be honored, especially if the county formed a district to do that. So in some way, shape, or form, we have a duty and an obligation to execute those prepaid plots. So I don't know how you can say that we have no obligation to do anything, because if the 3 volunteers aren't there, it's not being run, who's watering the lawn, mowing the lawn, and who's going to dig the next hole?
Correct. It would be in the discretion of the board, if it took over as board of directors, what to do as the board of directors of that district. You don't have to dissolve the district. You can attempt to, keep running it, try and change the finances of the district and keep running it. Once you assume being the board of directors of that district, which is provided for in the government code sections, those sort of decisions that you're talking about would be completely within your discretion.
Well, again,
My
I
comment
don't want to be the board.
Well, my comment went to, no, I don't, I understand that.
We've already
My
been written
comment-
up once for the cemetery that we have.
Yeah.
So why would we want to add to that problem?
Okay. My comment is directed to whether in the interface of the county and these special districts that are within our jurisdiction, although we're not the overall authority over them, stuff rolls downhill. And as you know, as county supervisors, it tends to roll to the county. And if LAFCO pursues a dissolution of this district, they will designate the county as the successor agency to wrap up the
Well, to me, when
affairs.
the county in 1941 took it from a private to a district, we already own it right there. So we've had 3 people doing it. We're now out of plot space, and now
I think
we're
we are
going to
out of-
get.
We're not out of plot space.
Well, again, for a year, that's not enough to mow the lawn, water the lawn, and make it
They
presentable.
don't do enough business
Yeah.
to operate it. It doesn't, we have talked, at least I've talked informally to a couple of the other cemetery districts around. There's no interest in merging precisely because what you
Because
just
there's
said,
no revenue stream.
there's no revenue stream.
Right.
Or an inadequate revenue
So, on
stream.
the board, the reason I am so adamant on this is for the last 2 years, the city of Kerman has a cemetery that's privately owned. They are landlocked and out of space. They have been knocking on my door for 2 years that they want the county to take it over, and I have adamantly told them, no, thank you, it's not our responsibility. We did not take the money when it was viable. We will now not take it over when there's no more money stream and have another burden to the county.
I think,
So again, mine is private right now, and I will not, as long as I sit in this chair, I will not make it a public entity and tax our taxpayers with another entity that on a money generating deal took all the money, and now that there's no more money to get, now they want us to hold the bill. I will not do it on the people that I represent.
sure.
So I don't want to do that to this one as well.
Right.
However, it seems our hands have been predisposed when the board formed a district in 1941.
Yeah, the difference is you have a private cemetery there and a special district here, which somehow we will get stuck with if LAFCO does what apparently is the appropriate thing and move for dissolution eventually.
It's like the CSA, buddy. Since Supervisor
Well,
Minnis and I have been
exactly.
here, we have formed no new CSAs because, again, the county is saddled with enough. And people that want to do this should form their own district and not have it a public district, because at some point in time, the money always runs out and the taxpayers of Fresno County are left holding the bag. And I will not support that.
And then we always have the other deal of, I don't know exactly how many cemetery districts are in this county. A lot. There's a lot,
Several.
so we have to watch what we do, because there might be the next one might say,
There are several small ones
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
that the board
exactly.
needs
We're
to
gonna
look
open
at
the
all
door.
those alternatives and not just cemetery districts. This board has seen other special districts and the general rules. The rules are specific to each type of district to a certain extent, but the general LAFCO rules are basically applicable to any special district.
correct.
And so,
It's a time-consuming deal.
but the comments I made
upward.
originally are the one to focus on. even if the county ends up having to take some action on this, there is no obligation on the part of the county to expend county funds to take care of any of the obligations or liabilities of this district. They use the county, you would be operating
So
as the
imagine
Board
that,
of District.
Supervisor Magsig, is now we're responsible, but we're not going to spend any money to put any water on the lawn. We're not going to mow the lawn. So imagine the calls you're going to get when that happens.
I'm already getting the calls.
Yeah.
So,
So I don't adhere to what county council's saying. I don't agree with that at all.
and by the way, so if you recall during budget hearings, I actually brought the issue up about the number of special districts we have in the county and how a lot of them are in financial trouble. And LAFCO, through the MSR process, has been identifying this for at least the last decade. But back to what we're here for today with Dunlap. The reason this is so critical is the volunteers who were on that board for many years, they were the ones who literally were digging the holes. They gave of their time to maintain the cemetery, but they said liability got such that they couldn't, they weren't getting paid, they were doing it for free, and they felt that liability was too high, and so they all resigned almost within a month of each other. And so we have this district that's independent. No one's answering phones, there's nothing, and so the public starts calling my office. And right now, we have limited ability to do anything, yet I'm receiving the phone calls. And I am not advocating that the county should take it over, because with the $70,000 that they have, I don't know that we can technically use our discretionary money to support this district. Because I look at the CSAs that we have, they all have to operate independent of the county. We can't use county funds, nor would we want to, because it would bleed the county dry with just all the needs that are out there throughout the whole county. But I'm raising this issue today because we have options, and I think staff needs to study this issue a little bit more. And again, I've been raising this issue up the last few months because I've been looking for more board members, but nobody wants to get involved because it's a volunteer position, and no one wants to spend the amount of time that's necessary to really make this district work.
When the liability question was raised, I think, by board members, they're very concerned about the liability question. In the MSR, it does make the point that they don't charge high enough fees if they change their fee structure.
Because you can charge an internment fee.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
Believe me, I have enough cemetery districts.
Right. And those fees are incredibly low in the Dunlap district right now. And that has resulted in them not being able to pay their insurance bill easily, and that created the concern for people with their liability. They have to change that, but in a district where it's 1,500 people and it's your neighbors that you're going to raise the cost on, that may create a political problem for them.
So Amina, you do have a recommendation today, which is not for us to take definitive action per se, because there's more that needs to be studied. So can you restate what staff is recommending on this item?
Sure. It is that your board continue to actively search for volunteers to serve on the district's board. If no qualified volunteers are identified, staff plans to return to your board on December 3rd to provide further information for your board to consider regarding dissolution and to provide a final recommendation.
Is that reasonable?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just have one more question. Amina, do you have any understanding how many prepaid plots there are?
Well, that's a good question. I do not.
Okay.
No.
One of the challenges is when this board walked away, I don't know where any of their records are. It's not like, to my knowledge, it's not in a computer program somewhere. So there's a lot of question marks about what is
Well, I think that's
available.
one of the things we need to do is the county needs to get a hold of the actual map.
Yes.
Who's interned and where and what's
How
been
big is it,
paid
Amina?
for.
How many are left? And all those kind of details we need to know in order to make an informed decision, please.
Yep. Sounds good.
Anyone in the public wishing to comment on this item? Anyone interested in being a member of the Dunlap Cemetery District Board?
It's a beautiful place to live.
Oh, we have someone. Uh-oh. Please step forward to the microphone to ask your question.
Yeah.
Yes, we that way we can see you, because I wear glasses, I'm going blind.
Yeah. All right. You could be the chairman if you like, yeah.
Hi. Okay, so this is interesting for me. This is something that we had to do for school, so we are here. But what does this look like this board, and where is Dunlap? Because I've never even heard of that cemetery before.
So the community of Dunlap is near Pinehurst, Miramonte. So as you take 180 and you're heading east towards Hume Lake, the Dunlap community, you would actually make a right on Dunlap Road, and you would run it into the Dunlap area. The cemetery district itself is about 1,600 acres? The district. The population within it is 1,600 people, but maybe it's a little bit larger than that. So it's a pretty good area. This cemetery district only represents about 1,600 people as well, so it's not very large. So you have to live in the area to also serve on the board and be a registered voter.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
Well,
and
that
there's
wouldn't
lots of
be
special
me.
districts like that too. So like in Clovis, you've got the Clovis Cemetery District.
Okay.
There's the Clovis Cemetery on Herndon. There's another cemetery that's off of Shaw. They also have cemeteries in Academy and Toll House and Auberry that they maintain. So that district's huge. But this one's a smaller district that only provides services to a very, again, about 1,600 people. Small segment of Fresno County.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you for your question. Good luck with your papers.
Thanks.
All right. Seeing no further public comment, we're going to close the public portion, and staff has made a recommendation to come back on December 3rd to take a look at additional items. And this board's given direction on, let's see if we can get a hold of some of the documentation to figure out what we're dealing with a little bit better. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That carries unanimously.
We now move to item number 8. Under Public Works and Planning, authorize chairman to sign and send a letter of intent to State of California Department of Transportation supporting proposed officially designated scenic highway status of eastern segment of State Route 180 from Trimmer Springs Road to Alta Main Canal.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Alexander Pretzer, planner with the Department of Public Works and Planning. The Sierra Gateway Trust, in partnership with department staff, has been pursuing the official scenic highway designation for the subject portion of State Route 180. Caltrans has requested a letter of intent signed by the chairman to proceed with the designation process. The subject portion of State Route 180 was included with the county's original request in 2015, but was removed by Caltrans due to a planned realignment. The realignment has since been completed, and the subject portion of State Route 180 is now eligible for the official scenic highway designation. This concludes my presentation, and staff is available for any questions you may have. Members of the Sierra Gateway Trust are also present for questions.
Very good. And just for noticing, I think there were about 36 properties roughly that will be affected by this designation.
Correct.
Have you heard from any of those property owners?
We have heard from a few of the property owners. Most of it has been in regards to any potential restrictions on property surrounding it. There are no additional restrictions for those properties.
All right, very good. Any other questions for staff? All right, I'm going to open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the public wishing to comment on this item? Please step forward and state your name for the record.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Mary Hilvers, and I'm here today as a landowner regarding the proposed scenic historic highway designation and its potential impact on my family's properties, specifically our 8-acre parcel on the corner of 180 and Piedra Road, which is currently in the first phases of development. However, we do have multiple parcels along the road. Over the years, my family has lost roughly 12 acres across the parcels along this stretch of highway to eminent domain. This has greatly reduced the land available for us to pursue our vision and dreams for its development. My husband Pete and I, along with my late father Buddy and my mom Judy, purchased these parcels with hope of creating something that would serve the community and reflect our family's legacy. My dad's vision was to contribute to the growth of the vitality of this region while honoring the history of the land. It is important to note that this is the first time we have been informed about this scenic highway proposal. We are concerned that additional restrictions could further impact our ability to develop this land without having been involved in earlier discussions. Moving forward, it is crucial that landowners and developers like ourselves are kept informed and included in decisions that affect our property and investments. We also seek a better understanding of the county's broader goals for this designation. Is it solely focused on scenic preservation, or does the county also aim to enhance tourism and create more attractions, especially given this area's role as a gateway to Kings Canyon National Park? The answers to these questions will significantly influence how we approach the development of our remaining property. We hope the board will consider the importance of engaging landowners and developers in this process. Our goal is to work together to preserve the land while ensuring that thoughtful and necessary development can move forward to benefit both the community and the county's long-term objectives. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. My name is Chelsea Dooley, and I'm here today seeking a better understanding of the scenic historical highway designation and that is being proposed, and to see if we can work together with the county to preserve the land that we are moving forward with in development phases. We're invested in preserving the natural beauty of this area, and it is what it makes it special. But as landowners and developers with plans already in motion, we need to be a part of the conversation to ensure that what we've invested in and what we envision for the future can move forward responsibly. Many of us have developed long-term goals for this land, not only honors the natural landscape, but also aims to give back to the community in a meaningful way. What we're trying to understand is how this designation might impact our future projects. Significantly, what will building setbacks look like? When will the new regulations be enforced? What limitations are we going to face if our planned projects are not completed by the time these regulations are implemented? We want to make sure we are planning for the future in a way that works for everyone. We hope the county will work with us to ensure that our developments fit within the vision of the area, but also address the needs of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. So, question for staff that I have real quick. With this letter, Caltrans would still need to act to receive the letter and create this designation. So, what kind of time frame are we looking at for when this would take effect? Because as I understand it, lands would still keep their zoning, but there would be some new setback requirements, right? 200 feet, I believe, from the freeway?
If I can give some clarification, Chris Mata, Department of Public Works and Planning. We have existing policies in our general plan that already identify this segment of State Route 180 as a scenic highway. Those existing policies include a 200-foot scenic setback for discretionary land use projects. So by right, or existing projects would not be impacted. And that's already on the books right now. It was in the 2000 general plan and was carried forward with the general plan review that was adopted earlier this year. Many of those policies have the same numbers, same policy number, same description, no change to the language. So from that standpoint, nothing is changing. As far as next steps, the letter is signed. The department will then prepare a letter to provide to Caltrans, along with the chair's letter. There'll be some additional photographs that Sierra Gateway Trust has already taken of the improvements that have been made to State Route 180, along with the prior 2015 analysis that was done. That will all be provided to the Caltrans, and Caltrans will make a decision if to designate this a scenic highway from the state's perspective. But other than signage along state route and then some additional notification and provision in websites and other things that say this is now a state designated highway, there is no change from county's policies.
And existing projects are exempt?
Yes, existing projects, unless someone's coming forward with a discretionary land use project, they're already in process, it would be the same policies.
All right, excellent. Anyone else in the public wishing to comment on this item?
Good morning. My name is Elizabeth Taylor Linscheid. I'm here on behalf of my parents. We own the southeast corner of Reed and 180. It's approximately a 14-acre parcel. And we're currently in development for a feed store in that area and have submitted plans to the county, and that project is currently in process for us. We are also here, as the previous speakers had commented so eloquently, our concern is the letter we received noted that there was a 270-foot buffer, which would take approximately half of our land. And so our concerns are obviously continuing with this project, and is the county going to allow us to continue with this project? So we'd just like those questions answered.
Well, I think with the clarification that Chris Mata gave, since your project is in motion, as I understand it, you will be able to continue to move forward. This does not affect you. Is that correct, Chris? The county's already applied its standard for that development that's moving forward.
If I can clarify, the 270-foot is for notification purposes. It doesn't change anything with regards to the 200-foot setback scenic highway requirement for discretionary land use projects. That was only for noticing.
You've already turned in a site plan?
We've submitted a pre-application, yes.
Pre-application? Okay. So as long as you've followed the old standard, it's my understanding they're okay, because we incorporated our rules at the county with those in our general plan. So the general plan is applying standards, so that's not going to change for you.
But any future projects submitted would be applicable under.
So with this new rule, I think what's going to happen is there's additional noticing requirements and publication requirements, and maybe some additional folks will have ability to comment. Is that correct?
Actually, the standards won't change. The 200-foot requirement, which is already in the general plan, will remain the same. The only thing that would change is maybe in staff's analysis of a project, we would simply mention that it's now a state-designated scenic highway.
All right, thank you. Anyone else in the public wishing to comment?
Good morning. I think I've met most of you over the time. My name is Donna Hacker. I'm a member of the board of the Sierra Gateway Trust organization, and I'm here on behalf of Sierra Gateway Trust. And we are asking for your support to approve the letter of intent to reinstate the State Route 180 Scenic Highway to the original Fresno County Scenic Highway. As we all are aware, this was part of the original Scenic Highway. Because of the segments of the expressway, it was cut back to the Alta Canal. Now what we're trying to do is reinstate that to the original Fresno County. The Kings River, which is now going to be part, hopefully, of this new scenic highway, will unify the highway from the beginning of the scenic highway route at Trimmer Springs Road to the end at the Kings River Canyon. Kings River is a treasure in eastern Fresno County with its natural beauty, irrigation source, and tourist attraction. The Sierra Gateway Scenic Highway will encompass approximately 65 miles from Kings River through the farmlands, up the foothills, and ending near Cedar Grove. It is one of the longest scenic highways in the state of California. The scenic highway is particularly beautiful and highlights the assets that we have in eastern Fresno County. In 2021, James Spitz, in partnership with the Sierra Gateway Trust, published the Treasures en route to the Sequoia and Kings Canyon National Park. I think many of you, if not all, have had the opportunity to review the book that basically Mr. Spitz wrote in conjunction with the Sierra Gateway Trust. On November 16, 2021, the board issued a proclamation to recognize the work of James Spitz, author of The Treasures, and there are roughly 800 of these books that are in the wider community at this time. We continue to support the scenic highway through our efforts and through our meetings. We would like to continue working with Caltrans and with Fresno County to improve the signage for the state scenic highway, which really has not progressed as much as we would like to see it. And we will work with the county and with Caltrans to see if we can promote that at a faster speed. Any questions?
And again, the Gateway Trust is willing to work with property owners along this route as well, because it sounds like we've got some projects that are in progress right now. And the goal is not to eliminate people's ability to develop their property, but, ultimately it's to recognize this corridor and just the beauty of this particular area as we head east, correct?
And I think all the members of the board own property. I particularly own property on Highway 180, as well as some of these other applicants who have come in front of the board. I have had no negative impact on my property at all. I own property basically from the Alta Canal all the way to Crawford Avenue. And all of that property has not had any negative effect. In fact, the board members, the mission for Sierra Gateway Trust is basically to promote and enhance the cultural and historical area that we have in eastern Fresno County. We have no intent to create any hardship for any of the landowners at all. What we want to do is improve and basically reserve the area that we have so we can keep this pristine area for others to enjoy, just as we do living there.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, thank you all very much.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question when public comment is done.
Absolutely. Seeing no further public comment, I'll close the public portion, bring it back to Steve Brandow, who has a question.
All right, my question to staff is, who ultimately makes this decision? Is it Caltrans? And will they make that decision with or without our letter?
My understanding is they won't make that decision without our letter, but it is Caltrans that makes that decision.
Okay, that's what I needed to know. To quote Supervisor Pacheco from earlier in the meeting, to me, this is clear as mud. I'm not going to support it at this time just for its lack of clarity and the impacts for some of these homeowners and property owners.
Since the public portion's closed, with the conversation we've had, my main goal is to make sure that individuals who own properties are not limited in their ability to develop. What we heard today is that there's projects that are in process, and also the general plan, which staff is going to use to apply what can or can't be done on properties, has already been adopted. Those are the rules that ultimately are going to be used to determine what projects can go in. So for those individuals who have started projects, and even if you haven't, if you're going to be starting soon, again, it's our general plan that will drive that. Having this scenic designation, I think is a good thing generally. It may add some additional red tape as far as noticing maybe plants that can be planted in other areas in the future, because you don't want to block some of these view corridors. I think individuals that have plans right now that are off of 180, maybe near Trimmer Springs Road, that particular section where we've heard from some residents who are off of Reed Avenue, Trimmer Springs Avenue, Piedra, those areas I think will allow for what they're interested in doing. So I can be supportive of the letter at this time based upon all the conversation that we've heard. And Chris, you have some additional information for us?
Just going to clarify to the board that the policies in the general plan that have the scenic corridor and the 200-foot setback, there is exceptions to those depending on the type of project, topography, parcel size. So that's not a given that that's going to be enforced along every project. And any discretionary land use project, of course, is subject to appeal to be brought before your board, or if it's a rezoning, general plan amendments, legislative item, then your board would consider that anyway. So we've certainly dealt with that in the past and have relaxed that standard depending on the project and what makes sense and what can be developed.
All right, thank you. And I'll be available for members of the public who want to do a project in the future as well, and I'll do my best for you. So with that, any other comment?
I would just add, it's my understanding this came to the board in February of 2015. Supervisor and Mendez were first just elected during that year, and being a landowner, I have had an issue with that. However, based on what you said, and at that time Supervisor Pachegian believed she was comfortable with it, and it passed with her consent. On part of it for me, they already have 75 miles. Why do they need to go to 79? But again, 4 more miles completes it. And again, as what you said, and based on what staff said, it's really a designation, but the property owners still get to do primarily what they want. So with that, although I'm a little hesitant, since you're the representative of that area and of your support, then I will grant you that courtesy and support whatever motion you make.
Then I will make a motion for staff's recommendation on this item. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yes, opposed.
Motion carries 4 with 1 no.
We now move to item number 9, under Public Works and Planning. Retroactively approve and authorize Director of Public Works and Planning's previous submittal of grant application to California Office of Traffic Safety for Fresno County Safe Routes to School Action Plan for the county to conduct a school assessment study to evaluate the most critical transportation issues students face at 10 selected schools located in or adjacent to unincorporated areas of Fresno County.
Good morning. Erin Hagenson with Public Works and Planning. This item is requesting a retroactive approval of a grant application we submitted to the Office of Traffic Safety to complete a Safe Routes to School Action Plan. We're awarded $223,000, and we have 1 year to complete the plan. We'll be working with schools in the unincorporated areas to perform walk audits and identify the needs and plan for things like sidewalks, crosswalks, and bike lanes. And I would be happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions for staff? All right, anyone in the public wishing to comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public portion, bring it back to the board for a motion.
Supervisor Magsig, I'll make a motion on this. When Supervisor Minnis and I were on school boards, the schools primarily did this. It's my understanding now that the rules have changed and that they need the counties to support that. I believe it's a good thing. It's a lot of rural schools and schools that are on the outer corridors of the city of Fresno would greatly enhance the safety aspect of that. We did several projects in Kerman, and I would make a motion to support the county's efforts on this behalf.
Second. We have a motion and a second on for item 9. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that passes unanimously.
We now move to item number 10, under Public Works and Planning, adopt and authorize chairman to execute resolution required by California Department of Transportation stating county's approval of and a commitment to Western Fresno County Climate Adaptation Plan and for Fresno County Safe Routes to School Action Plan conditionally awarded to Department of Public Works and Planning.
Hello again. This second item is 2 previously submitted grants to Caltrans Sustainable Communities Planning Grant Program. And the first one is similar to the previous item. It provides $400,000 for our Safe Routes to School plan. So those will be delivered together. And the second grant is for the Fresno County West Side Climate Adaptation Plan, which is a study of the western unincorporated communities to plan for the resilience of transportation infrastructure due to flooding, drought, subsidence, and other climate-related causes. And then we have 3 years to complete these 2 plans. And the climate adaptation plan is for $1.5 million.
So Aaron, how is this different than the previous item? It's another grant, or what is the difference between the two?
So it's a different grant program, and
Because the first one we had listed specific schools, this one is more, I don't see that in this.
we'll also have a list of specific schools. We have a list of schools we're working with or reaching out to get our list together. It'll basically just be the same plan with multiple schools. We're hoping to serve at least 30 schools in the unincorporated areas with these between these 2 grants.
Any other questions for staff?
No, these have been, I don't know how many we've done. We've done a lot of these over the years. I mean, there's some really nice things have been done.
So this part is to do a little more planning, and then we'll have a really good plan for project delivery. So we've never really had a planning grant for the active transportation before. This is the first time we've had a grant, and now we got 2. We didn't expect to get 2, and we have 2, so.
All right, anyone in the public wishing to comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public portion, bring it back to the board for action.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That carries unanimously.
Thank you.
We now move to item number 11, under Public Works and Planning, consider and adopt mitigated negative declaration, including the mitigation monitoring and reporting program prepared for amendment application number 3852 based on initial study number 8337. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, staff does have a correction to the ordinance. I will hand out the revised ordinance, and staff will explain the correction.
Staff.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, David Randall with Public Works and Planning. This item comes to your board with the unanimous recommendation of the Planning Commission. They met at their June 13th meeting. Staff would like to note, as announced, there was a discrepancy in the proposed ordinance and the ordinance summary regarding the size and location of the parcel. That discrepancy has been corrected and the revised ordinance has been provided to you. The project requests a rezoning of a single 1 acre parcel from AL20 to M1 conditional. A variance also is requested to allow a 5-foot side yard setback and approval of the submitted site plan for the development of a grocery store. The parcel is located on the southwest corner of Chestnut and North Avenue. The area is designated as general industrial in the Roosevelt Community Plan. If your board agrees with the Planning Commission's decision and the analysis in the staff report, it'd be appropriate to make a motion to approve staff's recommendation for the actions, including adoption of the mitigated negative declaration, approving the amendment and variance, and the site plan review. That concludes my presentation, unless you have any questions or you'd like to see a PowerPoint.
Question.
Yes, please.
County Council, why is this coming to us if it has unanimous approval of the Planning Commission? Generally, it only comes to us on appeal, and I don't understand this is an appeal. So why does this particular item come to this board rather than just being approved by the Planning Commission?
This is a rezone, so it requires the board to change the ordinance, which the Planning Commission can't do.
So they recommend it, and then it
Yes.
comes to us for final action? Okay. Good.
This is kind of and if this wasn't done, you're gonna have basically an odd shaped parcel that would go unused. This way it's gonna get used. That's the way I look at it.
Okay.
But I had the same thought.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone in the public wishing to comment on this item? You may have us at hello.
Thank you. Hi, good morning. My name is Maria Spera, and I'm a planner with Dirk Bushel Land Development Services. I'm here representing Mr. Kushpal Singh in his request to rezone the property from M1, which will make the zoning consistent with the general plan designation. Mr. Singh also proposes a well-designed project, in this case a grocery store, which will fit within the subject parcel, which is of irregular shape. There has been no opposition for the request, and we would like to thank staff for the recommendation, and I'm here for any questions you may have.
No.
We're good. Oh, Sal has a question.
This property is in the district that I represent, so I have a couple of questions. It says the store will have an ABC license transferred from another business, although he's mistaken about being able to do so and has no other license on record. So there'll be an application.
That's correct. We have applied for an ABC license. It's a type 20, and final review for that will be at the end of November.
I'm real familiar with this area in this corner, and I know that it's pretty heavy on the traffic because it's in an industrial area, and then you have traffic that comes off of Highway 99 to the south of it through Malaga. So it's a pretty busy corner there. And the question, what I'd like to see happen, I'd like to include that even though it's a small area, I'm very familiar with the types of small convenience store businesses within that area. And what I'm asking, I would like to see that there are signs posted on the outside that there's no loitering in there, because I know that once convenience stores get a liquor license in those industrial areas, a lot of folks get off work, want to go have a couple beers and stay out in the parking lot and visit with their buddies and all that good stuff. So I'd ask that those signs be posted so folks come in, get what they need, and come out, because, like I said, it's pretty heavy traffic, and it can cause accidents, especially with convenience store going in and out.
We could definitely do that, and we also want to adhere to all of the standards for the ABC licensed department as well as the county, so make sure to do that.
Okay.
got one question for Sal. What was there at that corner years ago? Was there anything there?
Yeah, there was a family that lived there right next door to where they're gonna put the brick wall.
Yeah.
And it was just like an empty lot, but the family used it. It was about 3 or 4 families living in one little house.
Oh, okay.
Hardworking families.
Yeah.
But I owned a bar and a store down the street, so I'm familiar with all the traffic that goes on through there.
Yeah.
With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Anyone else in the public wishing to comment? Seeing none, I'll close the public portion. We have a motion for approval from Supervisor Quintero. Supervisor Mendez has seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And that carries unanimously.
We now move to item number 12, Board of Supervisor Committee reports and comments.
Supervisor Brandow. Supervisor Mendez.
I don't have any that I want to make.
Fair enough. Supervisor Quintero doesn't have any. Supervisor Pacheco. Well, then I guess I can't have any either. So with that, next item.
We now move to item 13, Board appointments.
Board appointments. Supervisor Brandow. None for Mendez?
None.
None.
Well, I'm going to break with tradition. I have one. To the Recreation and Wildlife Commission, I'd like to appoint Stephen Butts to the vacant District 5 seat, which expires on 1/6/2025. With that, anyone in the public wishing to comment on the one appointment? Seeing none, I'll close the public portion, and I'll bring it back and make a motion for approval of the appointments. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And that carries unanimously.
Who made the motion? I couldn't.
I made the motion.
Oh, I didn't.
And then Supervisor Mendez made the second.
Thank you.
Yep.
We now move to item 14, public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the board on any matter not on this agenda.
Anyone in the public wishing to comment on any items that are not on the agenda? Seeing none, I'll close the public portion, bring it back.
Public comment for closed session items, which is items 15 through 19.
Anyone wishing to comment on items 15 through 19 on closed session? Seeing none, I'll close the public portion. And council, are we able to adjourn following closed session, or do we need to come back after closed session?
Mr. Chairman, we do not anticipate any announcements out of closed session, so if the board chooses, it's appropriate to adjourn following closed session.
Board members, I will entertain a motion for adjournment following closed session. We have a motion by Supervisor Mendez. Is there a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And that carries unanimously. We are adjourned.